Welcome to our special coverage of Federal Budget 2025. I'm Greg Bunnell. The Liberal government has tabled a fiscal plan aimed at supporting the economy as trade uncertainty forces a pivot in Canada's economic strategy. Now, at the core of the spending plan is $115 billion for infrastructure over 5 years and $110 billion to increase Canada's productivity and competitiveness. On the housing file, Ottawa earmarking $25 billion over 5 years in an effort to restore, quote, affordability to housing in this country. These new measures, among others from the Carney government, will come at a cost. The deficit will grow to $78.3 billion for fiscal 2025-26. Joining us now for a closer look at the budget is Derek Burlton, Deputy Chief Economist at TD. Derek, before we dig into the details of this document, big picture here, this budget has been framed as a pivot for Canada's economy. Does this document put us on the right economic path?
I think it's a step in the right direction. They've set the bar very high in terms of building up expectations, transformational. They set a very ambitious target to crystallize $500 billion in private investment over 5 years. That's what's so sorely needed in this economy, given erosion on that front, uncertainty, and weak growth at the moment. So a pretty high bar. Now, does this budget add up to that kind of target? Let's just say I've got a healthy dose of skepticism. I think, number one, to be fair to the government, this is going to be a multi-year project. You don't just pivot economy overnight. When I look at the measures from a high level, sure, we're running deficits. There's some big spending numbers. A lot of it's defense. And there can be spin-offs from that. But you strip that away, infrastructure, yes, is expected. No surprises. But when I look at it, I just, what's going to be key? What is holding back private investment? Things like regulation, tax competitiveness. I think we're going to have to be bolder on those fronts to really get us to that promised land.
Let's pick up on tax competitiveness. Obviously, when we go through budgets and we go through them very quickly after they're released, we want to see what's in there in terms of tax changes. What is in there for corporate Canada? Is there much there?
Well, very much as expected. There were some nuggets in there. I think, number one, they've responded to some of the threats south of the border with the One Big Beautiful Bill, and to some extent matching that measure of full expensing of equipment. It's fairly broad-based. That was very similar to the measure that was in the last year's fall economic statement that was never implemented because the government fell. So I didn't see a measure that was far beyond that. But that certainly is a step forward. The other thing is they've improved the what we call the SHRED, which is a scientific research write-off for experimental and innovation spending. That has been enhanced. That's another tick. There's some measures to incent clean technology on the tax side. But really not a huge change on that front. I think what they'll tout and what they show in the budget are the effective tax rate on investment is now down below the United States by a couple points. It's the lowest in the G7, which is good. But I think when I think about what's going to bring investment from abroad into Canada, it's lower corporate income tax rates, things like that. And I think that's something that they might want to contemplate for the future.
What about on the infrastructure side? We've heard a lot about the fact that if you're going to, build a more resilient economy, one that's not as reliant on the United States, then we need to really improve our infrastructure. Big numbers in this budget. The plan overall, though, is that moving in the right direction?
Yeah, the $50 billion Build Communities Fund is certainly a big measure. And there are other infrastructure funds. I mean, this continues with a process. And some of it will pay dividends, port investments. There's going to be a high-speed rail, which you could argue, is that really going to boost productivity and competitiveness? Some people may benefit from quicker transit. Again, I think there are some positive steps here, but it's a bit like build and they will come. And I'm not sure I'm fully on board. Again, regulation changes. These are things that hold back investment rather than just building a few ports. But I think to diversify trade, this is going to be key and certainly a good first step.
Now, of course, all of this does not come without a cost. That's a big number, too. The deficit is going to be much larger than perhaps projected just a little while ago. When we talk about deficits of these size, are they manageable?
I think they are. I mean, actually, the deficit line was lower than I think many analysts had expected.
Some had said up to $100 billion, right?
Yeah, we heard 100. They do come down a bit over time, but they don't get above 3% of GDP. It's around 2.5%, and then it does come down. They are focusing on extracting efficiencies from government, cutting back the federal workforce by 40,000. That certainly helps with some of the lower deficit. I think I always looked at Canada as the cleanest dirty shirt when you look abroad, and this doesn't change it. We still are running lower deficits than many. The debt burden, interesting, they dropped their fiscal anchor on the lower debt to GDP, instead focusing more on the operations balance. It's a little bit weaker fiscal target. I would have preferred they stayed with the debt burden. But overall, the fiscal plan, based on reasonable economic assumptions, I don't have any major qualms with it.
When the average mom and dad opens up the paper tomorrow morning and wonders what's in this budget for me, the day-to-day Canadian, is there much there?
There isn't, no. It's very much, and as expected, the personal income tax cut was delivered in the summer. That didn't amount to huge savings, but certainly Canadians, any taxpayer would have benefited to some extent. This budget, it's really focused on infrastructure, investment, and removing some of the corporate roadblocks, fast-tracking investment. Again, I don't want to belittle. This could pay some dividends. I'm just going to wait and see and monitor, and I really want them to be very transparent in whether they are getting to their end goals. So I would have preferred to see some targets on investment in the budget. We didn't see that, but so yeah, not much for the average Canadian. But if the economy benefits, then all Canadians. It's sort of that rising tide kind of analogy.